the most important hacks are savory breakfast, fiber first during a lunch or a dinner. Then another one I want to mention is vinegar, because that's quite interesting and it's good for your microbes because it's fermented. So vinegar, everybody has vinegar in their kitchen. It's everywhere. It's a very common ingredient. But recently, scientists have discovered that it has an amazing impact on your glucose levels. And vinegar contains a molecule that I love. It's called acetic acid. And acetic acid is awesome. When you have a tablespoon of vinegar in a tall glass of water before eating, and it can be any type of vinegar, okay, whatever, apple cider, white vinegar, just avoid the very Italian syrupy balsamic glaze stuff because that's full of added sugars.
Well said.
Yeah, but any kind of standard vinegar, the acetic acid in there will slow down the digestion of carbs. So you have the vinegar before having a meal, and any carbs in that meal will turn to glucose molecules more slowly. That way you're still eating the stuff you like, but with less impact on your glucose levels. Therefore, less creation of this addiction cycle for the rest of the day, less impact on your mitochondria, less impact on your brain, on your hormones, etc. Yeah, so that's another really easy one.
So it's literally like a tablespoon of
vinegar, big glass of water before eating a meal, about like 5 to 10 minutes before.
Okay.
And to your earlier question, what if somebody doesn't like the taste?
Yeah, well, I know. I was going to say.
First of all, you don't have to do it if you don't like it, right? I'm just sharing the science, like live your life, no problem. You can also use lemon. Lemon doesn't have acetic acid. It has citric acid. It doesn't work in the same way, but it's still a little bit powerful on your glucose levels. And then here's the thing. You can also combine the vinegar hack and the veggies first hack. You could make a nice little salad with some vinegar dressing on it. And that's the best way to start your meals.
Yeah. Now you've combined
veggies and vinegar. Now your gut is lined. You've got the acetic acid in there protecting you. Your microbiome is fed. And you're going to have a much better time for the rest of the meal and the rest of the day.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm laughing because so apple cider vinegar is a hot topic on YouTube. It's like a trending topic on YouTube. And so I don't know, like a couple years ago, we have a guy who helps us with our YouTube channel, and he was like, you need to do a video on apple cider vinegar. And I was like, really? Like, I don't like apple cider vinegar. And then I went and looked at the science.
You thought it was a fad. I thought it was a fad too. I was like, there's no way this is legit. This is like an Instagram influencer thing, right?
That's exactly what I thought.
The clinical trials are so legit. It's fascinating.
It's crazy.
And actually, vinegar's been used for centuries in so many cultures as a health ingredient.
Yes.
But now we understand the science. Yeah, I was the same as you. I was like, no way this is a real thing. Yeah. And I was like, well, there's like 15 clinical trials on a tablespoon of vinegar, and it actually seems to work.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing that I just was thinking as you were talking that I loved when I first discovered your work is that we were over here. I'll put myself in this category. Like there was a subset of people over here educating about keto and carnivore and paleo and like all those. And all of that was about how to bring your glucose down.
Yeah.
And so it was manipulation of the type of food. And what I just heard in the two biggest hacks that you just gave were two things you add in.
Yes.
And when you add in, that's so much easier than taking something away.
Girl, I know, because if you take stuff away, that shit's going to come right back.
It's right?
It's too hard. I applaud people who are able to say, I'm just never eating sugar ever again. That's not me.
Yes,
I love
me
sugar.
neither.
I eat sugar every single day.
Yeah.
So I needed to find ways to eat it in a way that's less harmful without taking it out. And that way it's not a diet.
Right.
You see, because to me, diet means restriction, cutting out food groups, doing this whole thing that is just not at all sustainable.
Yeah.
Whereas here we're talking about principles that are almost like, gentle giants or fairy godmothers that you have in the back of your head, and you do them when it's easy and it's helping your body. It's additive. It's not frustrating. It's not stressful. And that's why it works. And that's why people easily stick with it, even though there's not really much to stick with.
Right.
It's just new principles to add to your life when they're easy to add.
So beautiful. So beautiful. Okay. So outside of adding those two things in, is there anything else about putting a meal together that I need to know?
One of my hacks is called putting clothing on your carbs. Okay. So that's another thing about adding
Dress them up.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Take them out. Take them out. Like, get them ready for a party is what I heard.
Exactly. So I'm sure your listeners know this, but I just want to recap for anybody who might be new. So carbs, there's two categories of carbs. There's starches. So that's bread, pasta, rice, oats, potatoes, and sugars. anything that tastes sweet, from a piece of chocolate to an apple. And these are carbs, right? So if you eat starches or sugars on their own, meaning you grab a piece of bread on its own, meaning you have a cookie on its own, that's what I call eating your carbs naked. Okay, it's just the carb.
You don't want your carbs naked.
Now, what's the problem with this is that if your carbs are naked, all the glucose and fructose in them is going to pass into your bloodstream very quickly. Nothing slowing them down, nothing holding them back. What you want to do in the case that you want to eat some carbs like this on an empty stomach is you always want to add some clothing to them. Clothing meaning protein, fat, or fiber.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. If you want a slice of bread, add some avocado to it. Yeah. If you want a cookie, have 5 almonds with it. If you want a slice of cake, add a Greek yogurt. Right? Always add these other molecules that are going to coat the carbs and slow down the digestion and slow down the speed at which they arrive in your bloodstream. You're still eating the carb, but it's arriving more slowly into your blood. Therefore, it's creating a smaller glucose spike. And that is the whole concept. Slow down the speed of the glucose arrival because that way your body undergoes way less stress. Because when glucose arrives really quickly, like bam, first of all, inflammation goes up. Your mitochondria freak out and not able to make energy effectively anymore. Insulin goes like, oh my God, we have to get this out of the circulation. And your whole body is on high alert. Whereas if you give it the same glucose more steadily, everything works much better. And then you don't have the crash as well, which would create even more cravings.
So well said. And can you just we fill people in, like, you literally just described insulin resistance. Like it's too much flooding at the cell all at once. And this is another concept that my brain has been geeking out on recently, because when all that glucose gets and insulin comes at the cell doesn't know what to do. So in order to save your life, it can't get it in there to activate it to create energy with the mitochondria. It stores it as fat.
Yeah, pretty much. So one example, okay, let me explain insulin resistance in the way that I think is really easy to understand. So every time you have a glucose spike, your body knows that spike is harming it, okay? It's creating inflammation, aging, etc. So your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin is amazing. Her job is to grab the excess glucose floating around and store it in your liver, in your muscles, and in your fat cells. Therefore, it brings down the overall level of glucose. Now, here's the thing. Do you drink coffee, Mindy?
I do.
Okay. So the first time I had a coffee, I was like 16. And I had a cup of coffee and then I stayed awake for 2 days. It was like, this is the strongest thing I've ever tried in my life. But then after a few months of drinking coffee every day,
like, give me 4 more.
Exactly. I was like, 4 coffees barely woke me up. What had happened? My body had become habituated or resistant to caffeine. I needed more and more of it to get the same effect. Now, your body experiences the same thing with insulin. Over time, as insulin rushes in to grab the excess glucose, your body becomes resistant to it. So your pancreas needs to push out more and more and more of it to bring that glucose down. And then over time, your insulin levels start rising. Glucose levels can no longer be controlled properly, so they start rising as well. And that's insulin resistance. It is literally your body becoming less sensitive to insulin.
Right.
And why is this a bad thing? Because insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes. So when it gets to a point that is quite bad, it's called prediabetes. And when it gets to a point that's real bad, it's called type 2 diabetes.
Right.
But these conditions are not genetic. They're not something you can't do anything about, right? If you reverse the insulin resistance, and fasting is a really good way of doing this, then you're going to reduce your insulin levels, reduce your glucose levels, and then put your diabetes into remission. So that's the way that I like to conceptualize insulin resistance.
Okay, have you been watching my videos and you're like, I don't know how to put this stuff all together? You might need my fasting lifestyle free course. I'll teach you exactly how to do it. Just click on the link above. It'll take it to you, and it's absolutely free. My gift to you.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And two things I have to say on that. First, you're the only other human I've ever met that gives a pronoun to hormones.
Yeah.
I have been walking around saying that I feel like I'm estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone's PR person, because I always say, estrogen, this is what she wants you to know. She's amazing. She wants you to know this. Is what, and I just heard you give insulin a pronoun, and you made it a her.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's a her. Fiber is also a her. She's a superwoman. I love her. Acetic acid, I think he's a he. I don't know, but I dig him, so we can discuss this. But I think it's cool because you understand that there's an emotion and a personality behind all the things that your body does. Yeah. And I just love that. To me, it creates such an intimate relationship with my physiology, which could be quite a dry topic if you just read it in a book.
And so the other thing I have to tell you is that I have this like dream of doing like a stand-up comedy act of like around all the hormones. And now you're coming with me because I think we have to make it fun. We have to make it like approachable for people. Otherwise, health is only for the educated. What do we do with somebody who's like, I don't even know what the word insulin is, but once we give it a personality, now, there's a vibration to it that I can attach myself to.
Yes. So I love that.
Yeah. So I just didn't want that to pass because that was really good. Okay. Second thing, I don't want people to miss what you just said. And this is the thing that we have seen in the fasting world over and over and over again, that your genes do not have to predict your future. And when it comes to prediabetes, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these situations that are so largely accelerated because of the mismanagement of the metabolic system, we have to remember you're in control.
Completely. And a very easy way to grasp this is to look at studies done on identical twins. Identical twins have the exact same DNA to the letter. They look exactly the same, but one of them can get type 2 diabetes, while the other one can be perfectly healthy. And it just goes to show that your environment, your food, your exercise, your stress, your chemicals, your emotional, everything, that's what's going to impact whether you get a chronic disease or not. And my favorite thing to receive in my messages is messages from people showing me, this was my lab work a month ago, and this is my lab work now. I've reversed my prediabetes. My doctor cannot believe it.
Yeah, oh, we get those too.
My doctor's like, how did you do this? And so I think it's so cool because, doctors also want to see their patients get better, and we need to give them easy support and material, like my graphs, for example, to educate their patients in an easy, simple way. And so I love working with medical professionals who are using on my work with their patients, and that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah. So that actually leads me to the next question that burns on my heart all the time, which is, why aren't we teaching lifestyle? And when I sit with doctors, what I hear is they don't have time. It's like they don't have the time to sit and go into the detail and do the graphs and that like you're showing, which the problem with that is if it doesn't come out of the doctor's mouth in a appointment where somebody's in crisis, if they don't say, hey, let's look at your glucose levels from a lifestyle perspective, instead they're given a pill, we have more confusion. So when it comes to the things you're talking about, how do we get people to understand that it's lifestyle first, medication second in many cases?
That's a very complex question. I
know
there's
it is.
So many things
you were the
going
one
on.
To answer it.
Well, first of all, I think it's clear that in medical school, doctors are trained to be very good at treating and diagnosing, right? That is their core competency. But that's not the same job as helping somebody with their lifestyle everyday habits. It is just not the same. So I think we're confounding things a little bit. Like, a doctor is an amazing person to give you medication, to solve something, to do surgery. I had back surgery, thank God for modern medicine. Otherwise I would be paralyzed. For acute things, it's amazing. But when it comes to lifestyle, I think we need to go see other experts who are specialized in lifestyle and in habits and in behavior change. It's just not the same job to me.
Yeah, agreed.
And then how do we do it? Well, listen, I work with a lot of great doctors who support my work and understand that as a scientist, I have time to look at all the latest studies. Doctors are so busy. Yes. There's no way they're reading studies every day.
No way.
And so it's amazing to be able to partner with doctors and to be like, hey, my job is to read all the latest studies, give you all the information, make it easily digestible for your patients or clients, and then you can just give them this stuff.
That's right.
So we need to create more of a team system.
Yeah, agreed.
I think.
Agreed.
And then, I love teaching people on an individual basis on Instagram, in my books. And I think as a scientist, you do have some credibility. People do trust that as a scientist, I understand the science.
You know what
so
you're
that's
doing.
Great.
Yes.
I don't have any patients. I don't have any clients. I don't prescribe medication. Like, that is not at all what I do. Right. I just teach people how their body functions physiologically. Yeah. So that's the individual, like, sort of bottom up approach. And then I think another big problem we have is just the huge incentives from the pharma and food industries to keep people sick and hooked on the processed foods and on the medication. So we need more regulation. We need to remove the cartoons from the cereal boxes. We need to regulate advertising junk food to kids.
Yes.
We need to prevent food companies from saying on the box, no added sugar, if it actually has 30 grams of sugar per serving.
Yeah.
So everybody needs to work together.
Yeah.
I don't have the ultimate answer, but we just got to keep pushing.
You think we're ever going to change that?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes, Mindy. Look, 100 years ago, women couldn't have a bank account. You know, there is progress in society, and you can become cynical and say, oh, we're never going to be able to do it. But I'd rather be in the arena, have hope, try to push stuff versus sit back and say, meh, it's anyway.
Yeah.
It's just a personality thing, I think.
No, I love that. And I go back and forth. I have some days where I'm like, I think we can make progress if we all get educated and then we vote with our dollars.
Yeah.
We stop buying the things that are destroying us metabolically. And then I have other days where I'm like, I listen to what you're saying and I'm thinking, yeah, big pharma and big food, they're in bed with each other.
Totally.
And they totally can benefit from poor health.
Yep.
And there's no financial incentive for humans to be healthy, which is, again, why lifestyle has to be something that we continually talk about, because that's where your control shift is.
I think we can work with the big food companies to make better products.
I hope so.
Because I understand, they're profit driven. They need to make money for their shareholders. That makes sense. But I think you could do that in a way that's better for people.
Right.
And we've seen this happen over and over again. They do jump on trends, but I think it's done slightly, not very good way. Yep. But yeah, I have a lot of hope, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have a really bad time if I was just really sad about my work all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, you trying to maximize your weight loss? Apple cider vinegar may be the key. Go check out this video where I show you exactly when, how, and why you want to use it for weight loss. Apple cider vinegar changes your microbiome of your gut. This good bacteria is going to help to bring your blood sugar down and make it so that you can switch over into the fat burning state